What do you think about Trump? He does understand that this is his last term, and he wants to squeeze the markets to the max, earn as much money as possible.
You have to be careful as well. Don't go too far because that might get trouble.
How ordinary people can earn through your project.
We have pretty good trading volume every day, around 50 million to 80 million on spot trading volume.
Right now we're in their office. How offices are set up, what do they have here, what do they do.
People play pools here just for fun. There's gonna be race car, F1 Formula 1 race car driving here. We can see like from our office.
I love to drive around on a bike with my friends in the desert. Hit the gas, riding towards the sunset. And when you drive, you don't think about anything. How to raise money, how to scale up, how to attract investors.
Network, Singapore, Dubai, right? All this Bitcoin conference, all these investors, all the OG will show up, but you need to be in the community.
Maybe you can share some secrets with our community. Hello everyone, this is Invest Zone. Here we are in the office, on the very last floor, with a wonderful view of Marina Bay. We are in Singapore, we have came for Token 2049 conference, and right now we're talking with guys who built L2 layer on top of Bitcoin. Charlie, can you share a couple of words about yourself, how you got into crypto, and how you started your path in general?
Yeah, so I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013 in Amsterdam. So I took a master's degree there. I studied financial behavior, and it was great to get to know the Bitcoin mining. So I was in that church. Actually, funny, Amsterdam, they have this coffee shop right here. You smoke weed there. It was it was good. I was trading with my friend and the bunch of Bitcoiners. They were carrying the FPGA miners in the coffee shop, and they started hosting this Bitcoin Amsterdam meetup. And that's how I see, okay, wow, this is like every 20 minutes you can mine a digital currency called Bitcoin with this machine. So I get to know what is proof of work, what is UTXO, and how to avoid double spend with this digital currency, and that's how I started getting to know Bitcoin. But my journey with crypto, like the first involvement was Ethereum. So I got to know Ethereum in 2015 in Berlin, actually, the Ethereum DevCon events, and I got to know Parity, who was very involved with like Ethereum Core, Ethereum Client, Ethereum Wallet. And the team actually eventually spin off and started a team project called Polkadot. Probably you heard about it. It's one of the major interoperability infrastructure projects from 2017. So I was the first round of Polkadot investor. I kind of brought them to East Asia, like China, Singapore, different regions, and they have an Asia tour. And so that's kind of how I get to know the space, get to know the developers, the Web3, and so on. So 2021, I was in Polygon. I joined Polygon from Polkadot. Polygon was one of the fastest growing Ethereum L2, right? They were like very heavy on the NFT, gaming, metaverse, all that. So I brought a lot of the Asia projects, even companies and gaming companies more especially, to Polygon. My journey with Bitcoin was actually 2 years ago, and I was pretty lucky. And my friends, well, from day one, when all of those protocols came out, he told me, hey, Charlie, you should look at this. This is like Bitcoin native version of NFT, creating inscription native Bitcoin network. I was like, wow, it's so cool. So I started getting to know like BRC20, all the sets, NFTs, bitmap, all the other inscription stuff. And that leads to like 2 years ago, they were debating how to scale Bitcoin. Like scaling Bitcoin is a very important thing, right? And BitVM white paper came out right after the conference. And we started Bitlayer kind of after, the white paper came out. So Bitlayer, we were one of the first like BitVM research team. We started as like two of us, me and Kevin. We've been working on this in the last 2 years. We had 85 million transactions, all-time high 1.5 billion on TVL. We raised around 30 million investment from like ABCD Capital. This is ABCD Capital's office. We'll be inventing here from day one. Framework, Bitcoin Magazine, many other VCs all over the world. It's been quite a great journey.
So me personally, I'm really curious. Why do you do this? I assume that you came to this market in order to earn something, or you thought, we can build something out of this and share with others. Why do you do this? Because I genuinely do not understand why people create something that is so hard to understand. I really do not understand why do you need this second layer for Bitcoin. You can use Solana or Ethereum, right? Bitcoin seems to be more for OG and degen types. So this looks really complicated. Maybe I see it that way because I'm a trader. Why do you do what you do? How it is useful for people?
So everyone knows Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is the largest asset. It's proof of work. And there's a few things I need to repeat. Bitcoin doesn't really have the smart contract capability. You cannot really build a native DeFi on Bitcoin layer 1. Bitcoin is pretty slow. It's only 7 transactions per second. That's the capacity. You have to wait like 20 minutes to verify your transaction and achieve finality. So if we talk about bringing in massive DeFi, right, all the on-chain, AMM, DAXs, stablecoin, all that, you can't really use Bitcoin layer 1 as the existing, infrastructure to build that. It's not scalable, right? But whereas Bitcoin as asset class, it's the most biggest asset class, right? We have Bitcoin ETF, we have all the retail who hold Bitcoin. So what we want to do, the reason we want to create this layer L2 for 2 reasons. One, we want to build this like native with Bitcoin L2, the transaction eventually settle on Bitcoin block. So the difference compared to sidechain security is managed by their own validators. Our layer 2 is Bitcoin security. So it's a higher level of Bitcoin security. The second thing is with this rollup model, we can bring some of the new revenue stream to the miners. So bringing the new revenue for the miners is very important for the sustainability of Bitcoin network, because miners in next couple of years of halving, they're getting less and less Bitcoin block reward, and that's very important to bring a new revenue stream, right, with the transaction to the miners. So we work with miners. Miners see a lot of Bitcoin, right, and they've been doing nothing in the last 13 years. So that's kind of the key with the infrastructure wise. On the application wise, what are we trying to focus on is Bitcoin DeFi, right? We all know DeFi. Everybody kind of know Uniswap, right? We have all these stable coins now, liquid staking, all these lending and so on. Bitcoin as the biggest asset class, there's no native DeFi use cases, right? Bitcoin holders have been holding a Bitcoin in your cold wallet. You don't have yield. There's no Bitcoin native yield. So what are we trying to do with our Bitcoin rollup and the BitVM bridge is to bring this programmability and the yield opportunity for the Bitcoin holders. Instead of holding a Bitcoin doing nothing with zero interest yield, and then you have to even pay the custody fees to hold a Bitcoin, what are we trying to bring for the infrastructure and empowered use cases actually bring sustainable, reasonable yield at around 4 to 10%, varies, depends on the protocols, to the Bitcoin holders. So that's kind of what we are trying to work on as use case.
This sounds kinda complicated. I would not call my audience DGN or OG. It's mostly young people who are in crypto for 5 or 10 years. And my audience are mostly traders who are always interested in earning money. And I know that builders teams don't like to answer that kind of questions, but I have to ask it. How ordinary people can earn through your project? Let's say you have Bitcoin. What can be done with it? Should you transfer it somewhere, stake on it, or wrap it somehow? What people can do to earn something, to start getting some yield and support you as a project and as a network? What one should do with his Bitcoin?
Well, so a couple of things, right? We have our BitVM bridge, the Bitcoin from native layer 1 to our Bitlayer network. After you bridge over, there's a lot of use cases people can explore. Bitcoin staking, you can borrow gas and Bitcoin and choose with, get some stable coin, liquidity. There's like liquid staking, smart looping mechanism. People can earn yield, but that's more like the advanced user base, right? Who actually understand what is DeFi. They know what they're doing. They can use all the Web3 wallets, no matter it's MetaMask or any other Ethereum wallets. And now, of course, you need to connect from the Bitcoin wallet, right, to do that. So those are more like advanced user base. For people who are more like, not like necessarily on-chain active DeFi users, what you can do is actually, there's like one-click staking module, a bit less yield, but actually stable. So that's kind of another way for people to hold Bitcoin. If people who just don't even use the Bitcoin, don't even hold Bitcoin, they just want to trade, our governance token, BTR token, there's a few kind of utility of the BTR, right? It's our gas fee token. If people need to hold the BTR token to put into staking and to access to their gas fee revenue, and the BTR token is our the token that you can actually participate in the governance for voting. So that's kind of our governance token we launched last month, and we've been trading on 30 different exchanges. So for the people who are interested to access to have exposure of Bitcoin L2, Bitcoin BitVM bridge, Bitcoin DeFi, our governance token is kind of the assets people can trade. It's currently traded on Binance Perp and many other exchanges already. We just get listed on Bitcoin last week, and we were in the big Korean blockchain week as well. So yeah, we have pretty good trading volume every day, around 50 million to 80 million on spot trading volume, over 20 million to 300 million on the perpetual trading.
So, where do you aiming? What do you plan to do? Which areas to develop? I suppose you have some kind of roadmap. Maybe you can share some secrets with our community.
Okay, a little bit. Yeah, I will show something interesting. So first of all, the technical wise, we are launching the V3 version on the mainnet. I think by the end of this year. Our key KPI for growth is the amount of YBDC we can activate, right, to seeking on-chain DeFi yield. Hopefully by the end of this year, 2025, we can activate over 10,000 YBDC. So that's the kind of roadmap and a goal. In terms of good news, we can share. So we have a big an announcement we're going to make maybe early November. So I can't disclose the name, but I would say one huge Bitcoin whale, like one of the ultimate Bitcoin OG, he decided to enter investors in Bitlayer, and one US qualified custodian platform that are going IPO. They also have the venture arm they invested us. And the third one is actually a Bitcoin public listed US Treasury company. The founder is actually a major Bitcoin whale, Bitcoin OG, and a Bitcoin educator. He has a big follower, 1.8 million follower on his Twitter and different channels. He also personally invests us, would be sharing our updates in his New York investment week next year. So that's kind of the news on the investment side. In terms of, because there's pre-trade in the community, right? You care about what's next for listing and all that. We are working on Upbit, and we have a pretty big progress with Coinbase. Yesterday, Coinbase Prime announced the news. BTR assets already are featured live on the Coinbase Prime custody, and that's a very important kind of step to get close to the Coinbase listing. But it's not confirmed yet. So YBDC is our Bitcoin yield-bearing and the yield-bearing BTC assets.
Right now we're in their office. We're gonna ask them about the office. How offices are set up, what do they have here, what do they do. A moment ago we were sitting in a kitchen with a wonderful view.
Yeah, so this is our meeting room. We hosted an event last year actually here. We've been taking a lot of meetings here. This is kind of over there. You can see the city center of Singapore. So this is the financial district area of Singapore, city center, downtown. This is the racetrack. So 2 days later, there's gonna be race car, F1 Formula One race car driving here. We can see from our office.
That's right. Tomorrow they plan to try out the track, and then later they're gonna have qualification, and then they're gonna race right on this street. It's gonna be really cool to hang out here and see everything by your own eyes. That's really cool. Okay, so this is the meeting room. Let's see what else they have got.
This office is owned by Renault Group. We are their portfolio company. So they are our leading investor, one of the leading investors on the seed round. They invested us last year, co-led by like Framework Ventures, Bitcoin Magazine, many others. So yeah, this is basically the office we are renting together with them. So this is the kind of the entire portfolio. Bitlayer, we are one of them. But there's like many other projects like Mega Ease, Babylon, quite a few, some of them are top projects. Quite a lot in the Bitcoin space. We are within all the portfolio companies, we are one of the only ones still full-time working in this space. We have like 12 people here full-time working here.
So your team, all of them work here. What do they do? People come, use this place. Are they developers or it's a marketing team? Or maybe they do sales? So this is where the core team works. Am I right?
They'll have a few market developers who code here. We have like me and my co-founder and quite a few other business, focused colleagues are here as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me show you the pool and just kind of how we sometimes.
That's how you relax, huh?
People play pools here, just for fun. And this is the area. The other side, you can see the F1.
Yeah, you can see it right here. Yeah, that's cool. You've got an amazing view here. Every office should have a thing like that. Maybe ping pong or something. Because sometimes you sit all stressed out. You need a way to relax and get fresh thoughts. Okay, and what do you have there?
Meeting rooms. Meeting room. Yeah.
Where is your office?
No, mine's over there. In the room. Yeah. The main office. Yeah, the main office.
As far as I know, before you have worked in the company called Kraken. And also was responsible for project scaling in some other big company. What can you tell about this company? How long did you work there? And why did you left? And what really made you think, I need to leave, I need to work on my own project? Things like that.
So I was very early with Polkadot. I was the first running investor. Polkadot was amazing interoperability solution, right? I think they had an amazing run from 2018 to 2020. I was working pretty closely with them, building ecosystem. We brought a lot of developer. The Polkadot relay chain had some issue on the tokenomics. They kind of didn't work out, and it was pretty expensive. And 2020 was the DeFi Summer, Ethereum. And so I moved back to Ethereum community, and then get to know Ethereum L2, and Polygon was Ethereum L2, right? It was EVM compatible, a lot of projects on Polygon. And Polygon was a good journey. I worked there for 1.5 years, from 2020 to 2021. 2021 to 2022. That was the last bull cycle, right? A lot of projects there, Metaverse, NFT, GameFi, consumer apps. This goes up. And I brought quite a lot of project for APAC region to Polygon ecosystem. I left them like mid 2022 because the market was bad. Terra Luna crash, and a few other reasons. FTX was later, and I decided to kind of taking a break. And as I said, I get to know Bitcoin, the ordinals, early 2023. And that's how I kind of RHP myself, move back to the Bitcoin community, and start doing Bitlayer afterwards. Yeah.
Some of the viewers that are gonna watch you are going to be young developers who build their own projects. Maybe some young people, or maybe some pretty big, well-established companies. I'm sure they are curious about this question. I'm curious about it myself. Say you have an idea, and they build something using Ethereum or Bitcoin regardless. But here's the issue. How to raise money. So you've got a project. Fundraising is quite a pressing issue in a CIS community. For example, you have ideas and project. Something is already going on, but how to scale up? How to attract investors and get on your website various logos of different investment funds. Can you please tell us about how it is done in other parts of the world?
That's a good question. So for any builders want to build anything that wants through seeking like global investor, no matter it's a venture capital fund or angel investor or syndicates, right? I think it really comes down to one, you need to build a solid foundation of your team with well-covered skill set, right? For a lot of investors in early stage, they basically invest the founder's vision, the roadmap, and also the team, right? The skill set, what kind of the experience you have, what kind of track record you have. So for people who have been in the space for maybe a couple of years, really emphasize and articulate what is the unique experience, network, or track record you have, that it can make people feel you are the right team to build this thing. Because ideas can pivot and can iterate, right? And I think when you have a good idea, you need to find a way to figure out your pilot kind of proof of concept. We call this like initial product market fit, because that's very important for people to feel it's a very convincing idea. You think it's going to work, but what's the proof, right? I think that's another important thing when investors, evaluate that if it's a group project or not. And obviously network, right? You need to know the people, that those are the important people you need to know. That's why you go to attend all these conferences like across Token 2049, Singapore, Dubai, right? All this Bitcoin conference or all the other conference, Ethereum conference as well. Because all these investors, all the OG will show up. You need to be in the community. You need to understand who is who, and of course, understand who you're talking to. Right? What kind of projects they normally invest? Like, are you talking to the right people? I think those are very important, right? You need to know what are you presenting. You need to work on your pitch deck. Like the pitch deck is actually the key product in the early stage, right? To present your vision, present your product features, present your go-to-market strategy. That's all very important as a package. And I think most of the early stage investors looking at the founders, look at the team, right? They choose multiple teams in the same idea and eventually pick one or two, normally actually just one team to invest.
In every project you have hard and easy times, so I'm curious about your Bitlayer project. Have you ever had some pivotal moment when you initially moved in one direction and then changed it completely? That's the first question. And the second question is, did you have a moment after which you started to feel strong and steady growth? Not necessarily after change of direction. What have led to it? I'm sure something like that have happened. I'm just really curious.
Great question. So in Bitlayer, to be very honest and also frank, we had quite some mistakes as well when we built an ecosystem. We were very supportive, trying to bring a lot of projects, right? As much as we can, no matter it's like DeFi or gaming, all the other things. I think the first pivot we had was like, we didn't have focus. We were trying to welcome as many projects as possible to build our chain, and just let them grow. Eventually we decided, okay, DeFi is the focus. Bitcoin DeFi is what we wanted to do. So we actually focus much more on the DeFi side. Right? That's kind of one first pivot. The second pivot is we realized, the Bitcoin bridging solution needs that like upgradation. So instead of just building like an L2 chain, we need to build a better bridge. We call this BitVM bridge, right? So that's kind of the second product we've been focusing on since we launched our mainnet. So the BitVM bridge we launched a couple months ago. We've been working on that in the last 10 months. I wouldn't say it's a pivot. It's more like a new product line, right? Outside of the existing one. So like we realized that there's a potential to build that, and there's a market for that. So in a way, there's multiple kind of things we've been zigzagging a bit, trying to figure out how to improve ourselves. We see the opportunity, we go for that. There's something didn't work out, we stop. Yeah.
I'm trying to think about the questions that I could ask that would be interesting and understandable for my audience. Because every builder, every project representative loves to talk about deep technical details. Maybe there is something that you would like to share with us about something that is not deeply technical, but something that in your opinion is really important to know to understand the whole picture. Just to remind you, they have raised $30 million, and as he just said in the previous footage, that they raised even more on another round. And here's another question. They had raised $30 million. Did they already spend it, and that's why they need more money to support the team? What is the situation?
I'll answer the second question first. So we raised the 5 million on the seed. We raised around 2 to 25 million on the Series A. We did some kind of on IDO with Binance Alpha and a few others that raised additional few million. That's altogether like almost 30 million. So that's on the fundraising from beginning of last year till now. We made around 8 to 10 million on the gas fee revenue, and we've been making revenue. And obviously, we had a big team. We sponsored a lot of events. We have quite a lot of marketing and engineering kind of costs, right? Since we've been building Bitlayer, and so far we are pretty cash flow healthy. I think we still have another at least 3.5 years runway for our paying salaries, going to events, sponsoring, paying all the crowd servers, some of the donation, and also kind of grants for the ecosystem, all the other costs. Having said that, I think we definitely want to increase our revenue, right? Revenue stream for the YBDC on the DeFi yield, on the gas fee revenue of our Bitlayer chain, and other things. So I think we are still financially pretty healthy. We haven't really used all the money we raised. We spend some because we have to actually grow, right? We have to grow the community. We get some incentive to the ecosystem projects. We sponsored a lot of big conference last year. We sponsored all the Bitcoin conference, like from Bitcoin Magazine, like there was in Bitcoin Asia, Bitcoin Mina, Bitcoin Nashville. This year we sponsored the Bitcoin Las Vegas. Last year we sponsored Token 2049 Singapore. We will Token 2049 Dubai as well. Build awareness, right? Build the community and all that, right? That's kind of what we try to do. And we try to be very generous to the community member who have been, with us for a long while. We give like swags, t-shirts, all the other things for free and so on. So that's that. I think for the first question, right? What kind of information would be useful for the community that listening in video, right? I think what we can see from the market insights, we've been building Bitlayer since 3 years now. Bitcoin DeFi is big potential. We're seeing a lot of Bitcoin holders actually exploring yield opportunities. So what we are building as infrastructure-wise is actually bring the yield opportunity for the Bitcoiners, which didn't really happen in the past. And we're gonna work with even institutions as well, like Franklin Templeton, our leading investor on the Series A round. They have been doing. They have huge access to the TradFi users, so they're exploring some kind of interesting DeFi, collaboration with Binance, and are doing some kind of a DeFi ETP products. So yesterday, actually, just literally this week, I had a great catch-up meetings with the Franklin Templeton, the CIO. They are pretty interested to explore with our DeFi Bitcoin, products, potentially go through their distribution channel to their TradFi users. I think it's still very early, but potentially that will bring a lot of new users, right, to Web3 space, to the DeFi space, to utilizing the TradFi major firms and user base. I think that's going to be interesting to hopefully bring more users to the Bitcoin space, to the DeFi space.
DeFi Summer was in 2021. Do you expect something like Bitcoin Summer in future? If you do expect it, then you're probably preparing for it. How it could look like. In 2021 it was new tokens and meme coins, appeared new DEX exchanges and bridges, all kinds of staking and farming activity. So if you do expect it, when do you expect it? And if it's gonna happen, in your opinion, will it be similar to DeFi Summer in 2021, or you expect something totally different? So in 2021, people were crazy about meme coins. They had good results and have pushed a lot of people to engage with the ecosystem, and many of them have stayed. Probably it wouldn't be entirely correct to ask him, how do you plan to make Bitcoin Summer? But if it's going to happen, how does he expect it? How it will attract the people? Will people gonna stake Bitcoin en masse? Or people gonna start meme coins connected to Bitcoin? How do you envision it?
So I think first of all, this cycle is different compared to 2021. The key difference is we have the institution we're coming, not just Franklin Templeton, BlackRock, right? 21 shares, Bitwise, this goes up, Grayscale. A lot of company are major TradFi asset management company, issuer, even investment banks, right? They're very big TradFi users. And they are sitting on a lot of liquidity, right? And a lot of them are actually buying Bitcoin ETF, like billions of dollars. So that's kind of the main driver, why Bitcoin price pumped like 5x like within the last 2 years, right? And it's probably going to continue to go up, right? Because of the new sheer amount of buy pressure, new liquidity coming, right? So that's kind of the key difference. In 2021, no, right? It was only like degens, Web3 native users. So that's the first different thing. Second thing, when we talk about Bitcoin DeFi, Bitcoin is the very well adopted, recognized assets, right? Not just the crypto degen, the Bitcoin whales, the OGs recognize. Even people who are very TradFi, Web2, right? They actually understand what is Bitcoin now. So, but not everybody will use the native Web3 wallets like MetaMask or all the others, right? Not everybody are very digital savvy. They are very familiar with all the DeFi primitives. So, when we talk about the Bitcoin DeFi in this cycle, it could be the case. It could be hybrid, right? We still gonna have the savvy OG users that are DeFi that just tap into the Bitcoin DeFi space, right? Using Bitcoin as using Bitcoin L2 as the chain, using Bitcoin as the underlying assets to do DeFi stuff, right? It's gonna be there, and that's going to happen. But that's like a very small pool of users, right? That have been in the space forever, like guys like me and you guys and who have been like, in DeFi Summer in the last 4 years, 4 years ago, and now that this is a new season, like new bull market, like. But I would say that the difference and also the new user base is like, with the digital asset treasury company, right? Like the micro strategies and all these like ETF, ETP products, it's going to be different kind of vehicles to bring those Bitcoin yield products or financial products, but it's on-chain, right? Backed by on-chain yield, but with a very TradFi friendly user experience, right? They actually don't even manage the MetaMask. You can just seamlessly, you having like a fiat upfront on ramp, right? And then tap into those assets. And then they don't actually need to learn how to handle the C phrase, how to understand the smart contracts, right? They don't need to know. So there might be a catalyst to onboarding new users that are not necessarily digital savvy and not necessarily Web3 savvy. So that could be very interesting in this cycle.
I came up with this interesting question. I'm not sure, can you really answer that kind of questions or not? What do you think about Trump? If you take us and me personally, he does something that looks like a good thing for the markets. But at the same time it's so strict that I look at him and I understand. He does understand that this is his last term, and he wants to squeeze the markets to the max, earn as much money as possible. As if he's ready to throw others under the bus. What do you think about this? What is your opinion? In terms of markets, is it a good thing? He gonna give access to the big money, he supports crypto, turns on green light for it, or he gonna leave ruins after himself, which gonna make it really hard for some projects to stay in the market.
Great question. So look, I think I'm not an American citizen. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I think he is a very interesting, very unique, U.S. president, probably the most unique one in history. He's a businessman, right? He understands economics. He has a very aggressive, interesting policy. But let's look at the good side about himself, right? all he did as a president. He made the U.S. economy very strong last term, and this term they have new policy, right? They have tried to fix a lot of problems. In the crypto side, before he got elected as U.S. president, last year he was speaking in the Bitcoin Nashville conference, which he had a very big keynote speech, right? Talk about, don't sell Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be mainstream adoption. Bitcoin is the very, very important assets. And he promised, the government will have the strategic Bitcoin reserve and a lot of policy, right? And then the stablecoin reserve, like the recent one called the Stablecoin Genius Act, right? All these got approved and signed by him as U.S. president. For people who work in the crypto space, this is like massive, massive good things, right? It's pretty good job. Like he's definitely pushing the boundary, pushing the edge for the industry to grow further. I think it's very helpful. We need to thank him as a president, and I thank him as a businessman, right, to move the industry forward. Compared to the previous US president, Mr. Biden, he was anti-crypto. His entire U.S. administration was like, ban this, ban that, put in jail, like this and that. Crypto is bad, crypto is scam, like just putting to the very bad product negative part, right? He doesn't even understand the industry, but just say everything is bad, negative, right? It was back 4 years, right? And we had that. From Donald Trump is like, okay, he approved a lot of things, which is very helpful to make the regulation more clarified. What you cannot do, what you can do. Within the boundary of what we can do, then we can create stable coins, we can create interesting things around it, right? The ETF and all that, right? So I think that's very important, and it's helpful for the founders, for the builders to get clarity regulatory wise. Because if you do know what you cannot do, and you kind of feel scared. And now with this Trump administration, we actually have very clear clarity. What is possible, what is allowed, what is not allowed, right? I think that's very important. To talk about on the flip side, indeed, Donald Trump and his family, right? They issued the meme coin, they issued the DeFi projects, they had this like Bitcoin mining, they have a lot of stuff going on. It might be pretty extreme, right? They are kind of pushing too far. So for people who wants to support what they're doing, you probably have to be careful, right? Maybe don't buy the token when they are like very, very high valuation. And, also look at, as I said, this is his last term. He's pretty old. He's like over 80 years old, right? He has still 3 years left, right? 3.5, something. After that, maybe there's going to be some pushback, right? And a pullback on the policy, on this liberty of the crypto. And then you need to be careful. Like there's things you do and you get too far and it's on the record. Maybe the next US president, the next administration will go after you, right? So for the people who wants to do a lot of things in the United States, you have to be careful as well. So kind of keep the balance. Don't go too far because that might get trouble 3 years later.
I have really interesting question, and I think it's really important for builders and for traders alike. How do you relax? Having myself observed, I know that I can trade 24/7. Without food, without sleep, just trading, watching the charts. Everything is so interesting. And I experience FOMO. Something is happening while I'm sleeping. Crypto markets are really fast. At the same time, it's really important to relax. Just to keep your eyes sharp. Because sometimes you work for too long. To the point that you are not even able to make simple arithmetic operations, because you don't think straight, but you don't want to leave. What would be the best? Or rather, how do you relax? Maybe you like to lie and rest? I saw you got the pool. How do you relax? Maybe you take special kind of bath, or you drink tea. Please tell us more.
I also trade, right? I was a trader before I started Bitlayer. I also look at, I was buying Ethereum, like early days I was buying Bitcoin. To be a good trader, like you definitely need to access a lot of information, right? So my habit is actually set up alerts when extreme things happen, even like sort of sudden market overbought, oversell, right? And then there's some big news coming. I will stay on top of, right? I follow that on a Telegram with a lot of important news channel, like very straight to the point, kind of a short notice. And I follow a lot of the important kind of high signal Twitter accounts, right? The people who I feel it's very smart people who understand what they're doing. They understand the macro economy. They understand the technology. They understand the fundamentals. And they also understand that the technical side about, as I said, charts and the, all of a sudden the big trading volume so on. So I follow like a curated, very curated, like small, smart people, right? That all the people I feel like that brings good signal, not noise. As a builder, it's even more important. And you got more things to deal with, right? You have people to manage, your co-founder, your employees. You have the external, people to, take care of, like the investors, your community, your media, your partners, this and that, right? I think the technically very important thing is you need to manage your attention very well. So what I do, because I'm really most of the crypto messages in Telegram, right? So I have this folder. Like it's an interesting small feature, right? You can create different groups and a personal groups and a personal chat and Telegram groups, right, into a folder. So I categorize different type of people. If it's investor, it's all in the investor folder. If it's media, all in the media folder. It's the KOL in the KOL folder. It's internal folder, all there. So why look at specific topics? Who is sending me messages? What kind of things pending? I have this like unread category, or if it's personal category. We have all these different, topics of category, right? So I look at that, make sure I don't have like important things I miss, and then actually, have this kind of policy. If I can finish that and reply that within 2 minutes, I try to do that right away. So I kind of just get the backlog out of system. Otherwise, the whole to-do list of backlog will be so huge, you never get it done. And if you feel so scared, oh my God, it's gonna procrastinating and so on. So procrastination is a very big enemy to get things done as a founder, as a builder. So I try to avoid that. The second part of the question of how you get energy, right? So sometimes sleep is important, but also if you only sleep, you don't do other things, you get too much emotion, you get too much salt in the system. You need to get rid of it. So what I do normally, if it's like normal days, I go boxing, right? It's like the sports I do. I try to really, get your energy out, and also I have a 7 years old son. So in the weekend, I play football with him, and I try to, you know, distract a bit of my attention to my family. Right? I think it's very important to get something out of your work vibe, right? So you can, when you zoom back to the work mode, from Monday to Friday, you can be concentrated because you have proper 2 days off. Doing some festival that like this weekend, I go to F1, right? I'm a big F1 fan. Like our car, this logo is like F1 flag. So I do have some hobbies like actually to zoom out a bit, right? Sometimes you try to also talk to your non-crypto friends. Just have like a 1 hour coffee with them, kind of figure out what's going on outside of crypto, right? I'm trying to learn about what's happening in AI. I wish I had time to understand more about AI, but I couldn't, right? So I would just, catch up with my friends who building things in the AI in other spaces, and I give you some interesting connecting the dots, fresh idea, which is outside of the crypto inner circle. So I think those are all very important to get a new energy for your mind, get energy for your body, and get them out the emotion and things out of your system, right? Or I think all these are very important.
Foundations of the life of the crypto enthusiast is family, sports, and hanging out with your friends with a cup of tea. For example, I love to drive around on a bike with my friends in the desert. And since we are based in Dubai, I really love to drive around, hit the gas, riding towards the sunset. And when you drive, you don't think about anything. The only thing you think about is how not to fall, because desert is not flat. And it is something really cool. And you feel some kind of energy. I also love nature a lot, because I'm from Russia, from Far East. 500 kilometers in any direction, there's only nature and wilderness. Animals as well. I love nature and really miss it. For example, here in Dubai. And sports as well. It's not really prevalent in my life now, but in the past I did a lot of sports. I would call sport the basis of something that brings you energy, and it helps to generate new thoughts, and in general, push around the blood through your body. I believe this is fundamental. As far as I know from my sources, you're not only the owner of the Bitlayer project, you're not only builder and team leader, you're also a trader. So I've got 2 questions. What was your biggest loss and your biggest win? And with which assets did it happen?
So start from my biggest win. I made my first 100x on Polkadot. that was my big involvement. I invested them in the first round, and I was very believing in that. I was building an ecosystem with them as well. It was very important in technology, and there was huge community and also a lot of support. The asset token price went up like around 100x. I bought it like 0.35 cents, and like, so 35 cents, right? It pumped all the way to around like $30 to $40. So that's kind of my biggest win. One of the biggest win as investment. My biggest loss was a stupid one, but I kind of deserve it. It was NFT, BAYC. I lost quite a lot of Ethereum on the BAYC, and I bought kind of on the high range, and they just keep going down. The NFT was a bit bad in 2022.
I've got a question without a question. Right now we're discussing life, projects, certain narratives. Maybe there is a question that you would like to give answer to, but I just haven't asked it yet. If there is something that you would like to share about life, about project, maybe there is an advice that you would like to give, that is my question.
Well, first of all, thank you, Uslan, for the interview. Thank you. Great to sharing my story and Bitlayers, the things we're working on to the community. Hopefully you like it. You get some inspiration from what I said. Oh, maybe you disagree. It's all completely okay, right? This is just like kind of what we are kind of working on. In my personal humble opinion, I think Web3 is one of the most inspiring industry, right? If you're young, you're ambitious, you want to do something, you kind of want to use your knowledge and energy, and also just some kind of skills, right, to change the world. This, alongside AI, might be the two most important industry in this 10 to 20 years, which you can probably change the world. I see a lot of stories, sad stories, good story within my inner circle with some my direct first degree friends. Some of them made a good amount of wealth by holding Bitcoin. So some of them made a good progress and technical products in the industry. And I think, people one day will see the chart was dumping, to see this and that. You need to be patient, right? And I think time is your important friend. Patience is a very important thing as your friend. If patience can pay rewards to the people who stick around, not trying to just fund the industry. And I think that's very important. I want to hopefully the people who are listening who have a big belief and a big faith in the industry, and that this industry will grow bigger and better in many ways. Yeah.
Thank you for the interview. I have received very interesting answers, but since profile of my audience doesn't really match perfectly here, that's why we plan to take second interview. Probably we're gonna take it after half a year, probably gonna meet somewhere or fly to you, or maybe you're gonna be in Dubai or anywhere else in the world. We're gonna fly in, take the interview, and we will prepare for more in-depth technical talk, because probably people would not understand it from the first try. Thank you for inviting us to your office. It was really cool, really smooth.
I'm glad you like it.
Thank you for your time.